homeowners or couples making more than $160,000 won't receive a check. Now, according to one estimate, that's 7 million fewer families than in the original bill. Biden gave in to the demands that the relief should be narrowly targeted because he cannot afford to lose a single Democratic vote since no Republicans are expected to back the bill. Hold on, Savannah.
But Kristen, how does this affect the timeline then of final passage?
Well, Savannah, look, preliminary votes are going to start today, and it has a good chance of passing both chambers, but only if, and I stress this point, only if there are no other major.
At $80,000, above that, you won't get anything. If you're a married couple that files jointly, you will get $2,800 total. The big change this year is kids. If you have kids of any age, not just under 16, you'll be eligible for $1,400 per.
Sanders took to the Senate floor and pummeled legislation, which the Democratic leaders and Joe Biden agreed to pass in an effort to secure Manchin's vote for the Inflation Reduction Act last month. Winning Manchin's support was crucial for the party to advance a slimmed-down version of Biden's economic agenda. Progressive Democrats have fervently pushed back against the inclusion of the reforms, arguing they gave the oil industry a boost when the country should be investing in renewable energy. The inclusion of permitting changes reflects a disastrous side deal between Manchin and Democratic leadership. Sanders said adding the reforms in our position with the energy policy the U.S. is pursuing should be happening. And when asked about his announcement, Sanders said at a time when climate change is threatening the very existence of our planet, why would anyone be taking or talking about substantially increasing carbon emissions and fossil fuel production? He also warned of a revolt. Bernie Sanders warned of a revolt against House Democrats, saying at least 59 Democratic lawmakers would release a letter stating their opposition to the deal. And Manchin defended his opposition, and his position on this, noting that the Inflation Reduction Act included funding for several kinds of clean energy projects. Still, the senator from West Virginia argued that increased energy production from fossil fuels is needed to address more pressing energy demands. More relief has been approved for low-income households, SSI and SSDI. The IRS released new information on bonus relief checks. Many people are waiting to get an extra payment from the IRS, as long as they meet the new eligibility requirement. The IRS estimates it will refund more than $1 billion in failure to file penalties to around 1 million taxpayers. Most refunds will go by the end of September. The tax agency announced last month that it would give money back to fire taxpayers for failing to pay back their taxes on time during the first 2 years of the crisis. Chuck Reddick announced that the penalty relief issued today is yet another way the agency is supporting people during this time. The IRS said issuing the refunds would also allow the agency to focus its resources on processing backlogged tax returns and taxpayer correspondence ahead of the 2023 tax filing season. Taxpayers who file for or typically charged a penalty of 5% of what they owe a month, up to a maximum of 25% of their unpaid tax bill. According to ABC News, there is no need to contact the IRS to ask for your money back. The IRS says the refunds will be sent automatically. Taxpayers who were issued a late filing fee but never paid it will have to change and charge to remove it. But failure to pay for penalties are not eligible for refund. The IRS has said that the vast majority of refunds will be sent via check, while a percentage of taxpayers will receive their refunds through direct deposit. In order to qualify for a refund of the program, individuals and businesses have to have filed their late 2019 and 2020 tax returns on or before September 30th. The Taxpayer Advocate Service is urging taxpayers to file electronically, and Manchin has also criticized Joe Biden's student forgiveness plan, arguing there are other ways to support student borrowers. Manchin said the plan is excessive. Millions of people are actually eligible to receive a stimulus check that they may have not received. The IRS has announced that some money will be sent out to people very, very soon. And according to the U.S. Department of Treasury, a report that was published showed that almost 645,000 people who were eligible for the third round of stimulus checks had not gotten their payments since mid of September. The American Rescue Plan authorized the federal government to send up to $1,400 for each person who qualified for this check. The money was technically adequate support to get that bill through the evenly divided Senate after winning concessions from Democratic leaders. But in the new letter, Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer are asking him not to include the pending reforms championed by Manchin into a stopgap funding bill that measures that Congress is expected to take up this month. Without a stopgap funding measure, lawmakers are ready for the government shutdown on October 1st. The opposition from Democrats is a significant problem. If the group follows through in the letter, Democrats might not have the votes to pass a government funding bill. When they announced the agreement on the major climate tax and healthcare bill, Chuck Schumer and Manchin said they had reached a deal to pass permitting reform by October to secure Manchin's vote. A new deadline has been announced. The deadline marks the last day that eligible Americans can claim up to $1,000 in direct stimulus cash. Many lawmakers are debating on whether or some provisions should be cut from the Inflation Reduction Act. Maryland residents, everybody, who are seeking to file a claim for up to $1,000 in student loan debt relief have just 5 days left to submit their paperwork. The deadline to submit an application is September 15th, after which the state will close the portal. The tax credit is intended to help eligible residents who took out student loans to pay for their college tuition, and tax credits will be available even if the applicant didn't graduate. To become eligible, residents must have claimed Maryland residency on their 2022 tax filings and have incurred at least $20,000 in student loans from either an undergraduate or a graduate program with at least $5,000 in outstanding debt at the time of the application. Maryland residents who did not attend a state school may still be eligible for relief, but they may not receive as large as a tax credit. Those who received relief may be asked to prove that they used the full amount of the tax credit to go toward their student loan payments. Otherwise, they may be asked to repay the credit. Alaska residents will also begin to receive $3,200 checks in just 11 days. The $3,200 payments for eligible people were included as a provision in the annual budget. The state annual budget was approved by the legislature early this year. The checks will begin to be appearing in the bank accounts of eligible residents on September 20th, with all payments being delivered by the end of the year. Bernie Sanders has also said that he would oppose a short-term investment in the government funding bill if the Democratic leaders attach legislation meant to ease construction of crude oil, pipelines, and other energy infrastructure. Sanders wrote in a Twitter post, "I will not vote for any bill that makes it easier for big oil industries to destroy the planet, and that includes approving the Mountain Valley Pipeline. The continuing resolution is a bill designed to keep the government funded for weeks."
Thank you very much for taking on this issue. And this is something that I appreciated, Senator Tillis, Senator Cornyn, your support for a number of these immigration measures, including the Conrad 30 bill that Senator Collins and I introduced. We now have 26 bipartisan co-sponsors, including Senator Ernst, Senator Rosen on this committee, the two of you, as well as Senators Durbin and Coons and Blumenthal, and I thank our witnesses. I don't think our economy can stand it if we don't move. My state has the lowest, as Ms. Peterson well knows, lowest unemployment rate in the country. We don't have enough workers all the way down the line, and some combination, and I've been here, your point, Senator Cornyn, when we have been able to pass an immigration bill that would have fixed a lot of this. We got it through the Senate with bipartisan support, comprehensive immigration bill, and then unfortunately it did not pass in the House. I've seen a bill pass in the House and not here, and I'm hoping that third time is a charm, and we simply cannot wait. As pointed out by Senator Durbin, national shortage